Here's the thing. Every time I talk to small business owners on Pinterest, the first thing they say to me, Lisa, my impressions are up, but my sales, well, not so much. Sound familiar? Well, it's the trap of chasing the wrong numbers. Impressions might look good on paper, but what they don't tell you is if your strategy is actually working. Now today, I'm going to show you talk about the one metric that does and why it's the most important number to track in 2025. So welcome back to the Pin and Plan podcast. I'm Lisa, your host, Pinterest pioneer, and longtime member of the Pinterest business community at Body Mind Mood. I'm also the founder of the Simple Site Lab and Body Mind Mood, and I'm definitely a Squarespace nerd, no question about that. I love to design websites. It's my other business. So yep, there it is. So let me be real for a minute. Pinterest can feel like a ton of data overload sometimes when we're looking at numbers. That means there's impressions, pin clicks, saves, monthly views, engagement rates, and more. And all these numbers are just literally staring you down in your dashboard. I know they do it to me. And it's easy to think, do I need to track all of this? And believe me, I'm right there with you. I've thought it. I'm like, what do I need to track? And truth is, no, you don't need to track these numbers all the time. Now, if you're using Pinterest as a business tool, whether you're a coach, a shop owner, a blogger, or even a service provider, you don't need to obsess over every single analytic. You need to focus on the one that actually shows if Pinterest is moving, so to speak, the needle for your business, right? Are you making money? That's what you want to ask yourself, because let's be honest, we're all here to make money, and that's not a bad thing. So in this episode, I'm cutting through a lot of the noise, and I'm going to share with you some points. The single most important analytic to track in 2025. I'm going to share with you why it matters more than all the rest. I'm going to share a unique, easy tip that you can try right at your desk. You don't even have to get up to improve. Okay. And a real question straight from the PBC community that shows how this plays out in real life. So please grab something to drink, grab your coffee, get ready, and, let's dig it. So the first thing I'm gonna ask, what is the golden metric? What's the golden metric? Well, let's get into it. The metric you need to be watching this year, most definitely in 2025, is outbound clicks. Yep, I said it, outbound clicks. So why? Well, because outbound clicks really are the clearest signal that your content's working. And let's be honest, as business owners, we want people to go to our websites and engage, convert, right? Sign up, buy. So, not just being seen on Pinterest, not just being saved on Pinterest, although they're not bad things, but actually getting people to leave Pinterest and head over to your site. That's the deal. So Pinterest has openly said that outbound clicks are a core measure for success when traffic is your goal. We know this. They literally say it on their website. Okay. Impressions only show reach. Saves show inspiration and sort of like, I'm going to come back to it, which is not a bad thing. But outbound clicks, come on, that's what we want people to do. That's the action. That's someone saying, I want more. I'm heading to your site right now, right? Now, because outbound clicks show that your pins are valuable, Pinterest is definitely more likely to push those pins further, creating a kind of loop where good pins get even more reach. So if you want traffic, you want sales, signups, conversions, outbound clicks are the metric that proves that this is happening. So we know why it matters, right? But how do you actually use outbound clicks to your advantage? Well, let's break it down. So here's how to make really this metric work for you. You want to go to your Pinterest business analytics. You want to filter by outbound clicks. And you're going to look at the last 30 days. And remember, this is going to be your baseline. Okay. So take note of which pins are bringing in the most clicks. Ask yourself, what's the headline? What's the pin design like? Which board is it saved to? Is it relevant? Right? Think about my previous podcast. And what call to action text is in the description? Creating more variations of what's working, right? You want to test different colors. You want to alternate the headlines or even a new pin layout. The key here really is outbound clicks are Pinterest's way of saying, hey, your audience wants more of this. So instead of reinventing the wheel, double down on what's already clicking. Think repurposing. content with your best performing pins. Okay. Now, that said, and remember, all of this information will be in the show notes, so you can always go back to it. This leads us right now perfectly into this week's pin and plan tip, something I love to share and something that you can do literally at your desk. You don't even have to get up. So the first thing you're going to do, right, you're going to pull up your Pinterest analytics. You're going to find your top outbound click pin, the one pin that's getting the most outbound clicks. And then without leaving your desk, do this. You're going to rewrite that pin title using a question format. Right? So even if it's not in question format, or maybe even if it is, you're going to rewrite it. Now, for example, I'm going to use myself. If my pin said 10 protein-rich snacks, it's okay, right, as a pin title, but I'm going to change it to looking for protein-rich snacks. Start here. Okay. Why does this work? Why does the question format work? Well, questions spark curiosity. People are literally naturally inclined to click when they feel a question has an answer waiting. And that also, double down on that with if people are interested in what they're reading, right? It's a tiny little tweak. It only takes a few seconds, but it can totally help your outbound clicks move higher up. Okay. So try that. Let me know how it works. You can either share that your results in the PBC, or share them here on Spotify in the comments. Now, this isn't just a theory, okay? A lot of us in the PBC have been talking about outbound clicks, and one question recently came up that I thought was worth sharing. This is a question I actually answered on the PBC. So the question came from user Norman8. This was back in March of 2025. He asked, the Pinterest analytics board is showing me thousands of outbound clicks, but my site visitors are much lower. So for example, 3,000 outbound clicks, but only 653 visits. Where's the traffic going? And that's a completely fair question. So here was my response to Norman 8. This does happen, and it happens for a few reasons. Outbound clicks are counted the moment someone taps your pin link. Okay? Even if the page doesn't load all the way, if your site maybe loads slowly on mobile, users might drop off before it actually registers as a visit. But some clicks also come from bots, and they come from accidental taps, which unfortunately does inflate the numbers. So the best fix for this is what I told him. Test your site speed, right? Especially on mobile. And make sure your pin links go directly to the exact content promised. Remember, I talked about this in another episode where you're matching what you put on your pin and the link on your pin to the content that it's leading to. That way, when someone clicks, they literally stick, meaning they don't bounce off your site. So your bounce rate should start to go down, right? Not be high. Now, I really loved this question, which is why I'm sharing it with you today, because it shows us that numbers aren't always straightforward. This I know for sure, but they do give us the clues that we need to improve and sort of where we need to improve. Okay. So moving along here nicely, podcast poll. So I'm going to give a shout out to Artsy Craftery because she actually let me know that she really enjoyed the polls. Now, last week I didn't do one, trying something a little different, and I got told. So I'm putting it back in. This week's Spotify poll is really simple. Which Pinterest metric do you track the most right now? Is it impressions, saves, outbound clicks, or something else? Let me know. Vote here or tag me in the PBC at Body, Mind, Mood and share your answer with me. Okay? Now, whoa, that's a wrap on episode 10. And really, episode 10 is kind of a milestone at this point, right? Remember this. Outbound clicks are the one metric that shows your Pinterest strategy is driving real results. If you only check one number in 2025, make it this one, please. Now, you can always find me in the Pinterest business community. If you haven't joined, head over to the PBC and join. Sign up. It's free. You can tag me at Body, Mind, Mood. And if you enjoyed today's chat, hit follow on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon Music so you never, ever, ever miss an episode. Now, next week, I'm going to talk about how to format your pins so they're not just Pinterest friendly, but AI friendly. Yep, think AIO, SEO, showing up in Google's AI search. That's a really big one. Now, that's where things are headed, and you don't want to miss it. So until next time, keep pinning with purpose. Have an amazing week. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.